Hey, it's Ryan from upfitsupply.com, and I am in our new to us GMC Savannah 155-inch wheelbase, and I wanted to give you a little walkthrough of this van in case you're looking at upfitting this for your work or for your trade, whatever you want to use this van for, and just give you some tips and tricks before you get started to help you on your way. Now, the GMC Savannah and the Chevrolet Express are essentially the same van. There is some minor exterior differences in the vans, but they're basically the same, especially when you get into the cargo area. Like I mentioned, this is the 155-inch wheelbase. It is also offered in a shorter wheelbase, the 135-inch wheelbase. So you have about a 20-inch, almost 2-foot difference between those two vans. So a lot of that extension is going to come basically between this rear axle here and the front axle. So you're going to have a little bit more space here on the extended than you are on the regular wheelbase van. Now, just a couple of things to consider as you begin looking at how you can use this van for your work. The first thing you'll notice up front here is you can see our seating right here. So there is no partition, no bulkhead. That's my number one recommendation for anybody looking to use a van for work, or if you're really gonna have anything back here. It's a really smart idea to get a partition. It's just gonna protect you in the event of a collision or something like that where your cargo could come rushing forward towards the cab. So that's the number one recommendation I make for anybody with any van. Now, the partition integrates in a couple of different ways depending on the manufacturer. A lot of manufacturers will go under here on the headliner. There is a little cross member in the roof that you can attach to, and then they'll go down here and attach them on the floor, sometimes putting in plus nuts. Sometimes they can integrate with these factory cargo rings. But generally about the same. I have seen some manufacturers come up with a bracket that was all the way back here to this cross member that's like halfway through the side door. So that's just one thing to take in consideration as well. Now, on the side door here, you can get the van with dual hinge doors like we have here, or you can get a sliding door. Now, the door opening is exactly the same between those two models. It's just a different door mechanism, if you will. Now, along the bottom of the van here, in terms of obstacles you may need to clear with your shelving and things like that, just to take in consideration, have our standard wheel wells, which is pretty much every van's gonna have that. One thing that the Savannah Express have is this little fuel fill box here that you gotta work around as well. So if you're putting in a shelf, you may need to clear that, or you need to make sure that your leg doesn't fall right where that fuel filler cap or that fuel fill little housing is. So just make sure that you can clear that. One thing I do want to mention, I'm not going to go through and measure everything in this video. I have another video where I do that. You can check that out, or you can go to upfitsupply.com. You can type in measurement guides for GMC Savannah, and you can print out measurements of this entire van, see what your distance is between the wheel well and that, and all of that. Now, another thing about the GMC Savannah Chevrolet Express is, well, number one, these vans have not really changed since the 90s. It's basically the same van. Now, because of that, there's just a lot of accessories and equipment that are made specifically for these vans. These are like the original work vans in America, at least. And so there's just a lot of accessories, a lot of equipment that's kind of tailor-made specifically for these vans, which is great. The other thing is, this van, compared to some of the newer vans, is on the body here, we only have these vertical supports. We don't have any cross rails that go horizontally. Now, that can pose a challenge for some of your shelving, because you need to attach your shelving to the van with brackets somehow. So you need to line everything up, or you either need to line everything up so that you can tie into these vertical supports, so you need to get your measurements all right, or you're gonna have to go tall enough where you can integrate into this extrusion up here in the corner of the van. So typically you're going to want to go with like a 44-inch, 46-inch high shelf. You could go as high as 48 inches. I don't know of any manufacturer that makes a 48-inch shelf. It would fit in here, but it would be kind of tight with your brackets up top and really not a lot of room on that top shelf. So because of that, you just want to make sure that you're thinking through how you're going to attach your shelf to the van. There are like some GM specific shelving units out there that are kind of like pre-measured to be in between these two vertical uprights and so on. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that it's tall enough so you can tie into these braces here. Some manufacturers also make a little cargo rail that basically ties into each of these, and then you can basically space your shelving however you want to and tie into the rail on top of that. Now on the Savannah extended wheelbase or 155-inch wheelbase, you of course got your 4 feet. It's like 4.5 feet in between your wheel wells here. So we're at 4'4". So your 4x8 material will fit in here fine. You actually get about 10 feet in the 155-inch wheelbase from basically this rear threshold all the way up there where your partition will be. Just a couple of other minor nuances about this vehicle. Number one, I think they all pretty much come with these kind of passenger style lights back here that really don't do a whole lot. We're actually gonna take those out and put in some aftermarket lights. Another thing is you got your factory emergency jack right here that you have to, this takes up a little bit of space in the back corner. We also have a harness, kind of a conduit carrier, if you will, for all of your wiring and stuff that runs around this corner right here. So if you're doing anything funky up here, just be aware that you're gonna have this exposed. Same thing, this wiring harness comes down here towards the back corner of the van, and the wiring's kind of, it's not inside your double sheet metal here. It runs on the outside, so you're gonna have to accommodate that in case there's any customizations that you wanna do in those areas. Now, kind of my second recommendation for this van or any of these larger vans is really a good floor. You wanna protect this floor, you don't wanna scratch it up, you don't wanna slip around on here either. You can get a factory vinyl floor, I think, but it has like, almost like that carpet underlayment material under it, and that can just soak up water and get mildewy and all of that. You know, it had one in this van before we bought it, and we tore it out and it was just soaking wet underneath it, and we were just kind of wondering what the heck happened there. So we took that out. We're gonna be putting in a rigid floor, a stability grip floor from Legend in here, which is a good idea because you have these ribs in the bottom of the floor, and so as you're walking around here you can feel those ribs and potentially tripping hazards and stuff like that. Not a huge deal on this van because you're not going to be doing a whole lot of walking around. It is not super high like those higher roof vans like the ProMaster, Transit, and Sprinter, but if you're going to be crawling around here, you know, you may want a rigid floor back here. Now in terms of protection, first, glass. You can get your doors with glass on them. This van has glass on the rear doors, glass deleted on the side doors. Glass in the back is great for backing up and seeing behind you and things like that, but it also allows people to see in what you got going on back here. They have a ton of tools, equipment, inventory, whatever you have in the back of your van, prying eyes to see. And so I'd recommend something like a window guard or window screen. There's kind of a twofold purpose of those. Number one, it protects the glass, so if you have a piece of lumber or something sticking out, you know, it's going to protect that glass from shattering as you shut the door on it. And then the other is that obviously it protects people from shattering that window and getting in here. So it's a nice addition to have for those glass. The other thing is this van has been around for 30 something years, this specific version of the van. And so criminals know how to get into these and get the door latches undone and things like that. So you may want to look at some cargo van locks, either some slick locks, or if you want even some more security than that, you can look at the security lock, or even a step further, get the Thunderbolt deadbolt, which is an integrated deadbolt in the door that you can't even see from the outside, but it's just going to keep people from breaking in and getting through those factory locks. Now, this van you can get with a V8. You can get a 6.6 liter V8 with an 8-speed heavy duty automatic transmission. You can tow up to 7,400 pounds. I think the GVWR is something like 9,800 pounds or something like that. So it's got some power to it, rear wheel drive. You can get a hitch on it. If it doesn't have one, you can get one of those, put it on there, easily integrate your wiring harness. You actually can get a harness where you just unplug your factory tail lights, and then it integrates with those and then runs wiring to your trailer. So that might be something you want to look at. You can tow with this. It's got that big V8 engine, or optional V8 engine, otherwise you're going to get the V6. Now with these Express Savannah vans, the ladder racks are going to mount on the gutters on the side of the van. That's how all the ladder racks are going to attach to this van. So it's just a clamp on those rain gutters on either side of the top of the van, whereas a lot of the newer vans, they have kind of pre-determined mounting location or where your feet are going to go for your ladder rack. So with that gutter mount, you do have a lot of variability on how far forward or how far back you put those, put that ladder rack. Now, if you go with the ladder rack on top, I would recommend getting a side step or some running boards. We're actually going to be putting some wheel-to-wheel running boards on here. It's going to give you that extra step, so you're tall enough, you can reach everything on the roof nice and easily. Now we do have some plans for this van, and just to give you a little sneak peek of what we're thinking, all the way up there you can already see we have these black Tiger Tough indestructible seat covers. We want to preserve that resale value when we go to sell this in a few months. And then we're also going to be doing a composite partition in between the cab and the cargo area of the van. We have a window in there so we can still make use of that rear glass. Then we're going to be doing a full AutoPly 1-inch insulation kit. It's going to insulate the entire back of this van, and then over top of that we're going to do our Legend liner package with our Duratherm insulated liners on our walls, our ceilings, and our doors. Then we're going to put a nice composite rigid StabiliGrip floor from Legend in here with some high visibility yellow steel sills at the doors. It's going to look great. And like I said, we're going to take these lights out. They really don't do a whole lot, and we'll put in some motion sensor LED ceiling lights in here as well to brighten it up. Again, we're going to take care of that rear glass by putting in some window guards, some screens to prevent entry, as well as protect that glass from getting shattered from anything on the inside. Now, as we head out, we're actually going to be doing some cargo van locks on the rear door and the side door, a couple different options there we'll show you. Then on top, we're going to be doing our Vantech H1 3-bar crossbar ladder rack. We're going to do an extension rear roller bar so we can easily just throw a ladder up against that roller bar and load it onto the roof easily. And to make it easier to reach things on the roof, we are going to do our wheel-to-wheel running boards from Laverne's, the Omega 2 product. So looking forward to getting that on the van to make it easy to access that ladder rack. Still a lot to be determined on the interior here in terms of shelving and accessories and things like that. We're still figuring that out, but that's kind of the basics that we're going to get covered for this van. That'll be ready for pretty much any trade out there. Now, if you're looking for equipment for your cargo van or your work truck, be sure to check us out at upfitsupply.com. Get everything that you need shipped to your door with the industry's finest customer service. Again, my name is Ryan, and have a good one.